Welcome to the We Do Marketing Hour podcast. I'm your host, Alex Valencia. And our goal here is to help you grow your business, your life, maybe your firm in the next 60 minutes. In each episode, we bring on experts in their respective fields and have in-depth life discussions that offer you the tools you need to create cutting-edge strategies that you can implement in your life, your business, as a family man, all the tools you need that you can implement today. Today, I'm super stoked to have on the show my friend, my long-term friend and colleague and business partner, Gary Sarner. Today, we're going to be talking about the fucking honest truth about law firms and radio ads. Gary's going to dive deep into his history on buying radio for law firms, buying radio for other businesses, how he does it better, why you need to be doing it, why so many people are missing out the opportunity. Join us today on this episode that you cannot miss if you're an advertiser or thinking about advertising on TV or radio. You can't miss these nuggets. Happy Friday and welcome to the We Do Marketing Hour. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Gary Sarner, and we're starting off our afternoon with a little Glenn Levitt, courtesy of the Sales Driven Agency. Thank you, Joey and JJ. Today, we're going to be talking marketing, friendship, truth. We don't bullshit anybody here. We're friendly talkers. We want to give you information. We want to help you build your business. We want to help you emotionally. We want to help you become the best person you can. So on the We Do Marketing Hour, make sure you tune in with Gary, myself. A couple weeks ago, Paul Faust came in and hijacked. So today is part 2 of that, because I don't know that we got to know Gary fully and understand exactly what he did and how he changes law firms and businesses across the country. So we're going to learn and we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to have some drinks and have some fun. So thank you for joining us. Here we go. Cheers, Gary.
Cheers, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for being here, man. So happy Friday, dude.
Happy Friday.
So tell me, we've known each other 5.5 years. We've been working on the same personal injury client. And what a skyrocketing moment has happened for them. And not just right now. We're just talking right now. You're just going to listen to where we are now and where we're probably going to go. But what got us here? Like, you know, the combination of, and I'll tell my story and how I met our client, which is started off as a good sized personal injury client here in South Florida and decided they wanted to evolve, but they didn't have the right digital marketing structure. But we're already working with Gary for about 8 years on all the digital media that he was doing, you know, radio, TV, sports events, different events marketing. Experiential. So there was so much that he was already doing, but he was missing our element. And, you know, Mark trusted us and brought us on. And, you know, just like with any client, the conversations we have, not everybody starts spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in the beginning. It starts with a budget. And the more you start growing, you start reinvesting in your business. So, Gary, why don't you tell us about that relationship, how you started, a little bit about your history. And you might have touched on some of this with Paul. But going deeper, let's be real and show the audience and our friends exactly what it took and where you are and why you're the best. Like, this dude is the best at shopping, at buying media, at actually realizing what it takes to get to the next level and thinking creatively outside of the box.
You know, it's funny. I fell in love with broadcast media as a child. My father was in the consumer electronics business and was the largest radio advertiser in 6 markets in the Southeast.
Wow.
And I hung out in radio stations as a 16-year-old after school. And I was just enamored with the electricity inside a radio station. And back then, there was no digital radio. You know, the program director came running in with a cart and said, "Play this song." And Craig Ashwood, who was the DJ at the station that I was hanging out at, he said, "In 10 seconds, the phones are going to light up. And if it does, it's a hit. If it doesn't, we'll never play it again." And I just found it to be so amazing that all of a sudden, 30 phone lines, boom, 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 all the lights are up. And I fell in love with broadcasting at that moment. And when I left college, I wanted to get into radio. And I was told, well, if you want to be a broadcaster and be on air, you're going to make shit, no money. But if you go into sales, you can do really well. So I was like, okay, great. Who do I call? Well, no, you need to find a sales manager and you need to get an interview, blah, blah, blah. Well, the funny thing is, for 2.5 months, I called and couldn't get an interview. So you know what I did? I showed up at the doorstep of Y100 in February of 87, dressed in a suit, ready to work. And I knew who the sales manager was. I knew what he looked like because back then they had secretaries.
Right.
And I spoke to her and became good friends with her. And he's like, what the hell are you doing here? I said, well, you wouldn't call me back, so I figured I'd just show up.
That's how you do it.
And after spending an hour and a half with Jim, he told me, I like you. You got some real spunk, kid. I said, okay, what do I do? He says, well, you got to meet our general manager. I said, super. I'll wait in the lobby for him. And I did. And here's the best part. This guy's like, you left college. You know nothing about the broadcasting industry other than the fact that you like to listen. He goes, give me one damn reason why I should hire you. I said, can I ask you one question? He's like, what's that? And David Ross, who was my mentor, may he rest in peace. He ran Y100 here in South Florida, which is a legendary radio station. I said, do you invest in the stock market? He's like, yeah, of course. I said, do yourself a favor. Invest $3,000 in GES. And in 90 days, you're either going to lose the $3,000 or you're going to know you're going to make a fortune. And he excused himself from the office, and I'm sitting there.
He went to look it up.
He went to call his broker. And he comes back in the office. He says, no such stock as GES. I said, oh, no, you're going to invest in me, $3,000 for 90 days.
Oh, my God, Gary Sarner.
And he hired me. He hired me.
Wow, that's awesome.
And, listen, I had 35 years in radio here in South Florida. I was a local salesperson. I was a local sales manager. I managed all the sports networks for the Dolphins, the Marlins, the Panthers, the Hurricanes. I was the national sales manager for 14 years. So I got to travel the entire country and meet broadcast executives from all over the country, aside from working with all the different agencies out there. And fast forward to, how we got together. I walked in on our client one day to have a meeting, and I put my coat and tie on. I'm going to see this lawyer, and he's sitting there in jeans, flip-flops, and a T-shirt and says, take your tie off.
It's Florida.
It's Florida. And he offered me a scotch, just like today. And we sat and we talked and we're bullshitting. And this is what's crucial. And this is what really changed and made a relationship with our current client together. He had all these invoices next to him. And I said, do you look at those? He's like, no, I trust my people. They love me. They take care of me. I was like, dude, you are getting screwed. He's like, no. Nobody's screwing me. They love me. I said, they might love you, but they're screwing you. So, okay, big shot. Why don't you audit one of the stations? And I did. I went and I took a yellow piece of paper, what he was buying, what he actually got, and I wrote everything down. I show up at his office about a week later, and I said, Houston, we have a problem. And he looked at the piece of paper, and it was pretty blatant. He was like, you're my ad guy. I said, no, I'm not. He says, yeah, you're going to take care of all my advertising, and you're going to make sure that all my commercials run correctly. And for anybody who's out there watching us today, if you aren't checking your spot times on a daily basis, if you're doing radio and TV and auditing what you get on OTT and digital media, you need help because you have to do that. But then we really started sitting down to discuss strategy and what he was doing. And, back in 2013, he was probably 85% television 15% radio.
Wow.
And, there's this thing out there now in the broadcast world called a TV share shift to radio or a radio share shift to TV. And people are vying to bring over to their medium. Well, that was the original TV share shift. And I came up with a plan for him to take him from all of this TV into more radio. Why radio?
Yeah, why radio?
What happens in a car accident?
You're in the car.
You're in the car.
Right.
How many broadcast televisions are there in a car?
Not that I know of. I don't drive a Tesla, but there might be some Teslas.
Maybe. But maybe the kids are watching videos.
Yeah, maybe.
But what's in every car?
A radio.
A radio. And how do you keep pounding people over the head in the place where something might happen?
Exactly. I agree. Makes sense.
And, what's amazing is there was trust that was built.
Right.
And I don't care what the relationship is in life. Without trust, there's nothing.
I believe it. What's the split now? What's the split now look like? Because there's still TV going, but it's not as hefty.
It's probably about 80% radio, 20% television.
So a pretty much a 180 shift, right?
You've got to touch people where they are. And again, it's not just buying radio. There is a plan. There is a system. There is a strategy. And then there is making sure that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, for any of these law firms that we work with or other people are out there, when you ask a client or a prospective client, when the phone rings at the law firm and this person's been through hell, whether it was a minor accident or something catastrophic, when you speak to somebody and ask them, how'd you find out about the law firm? You know what they normally say?
The internet.
Google. They don't even say internet.
No.
Google. Google gets the credit for probably 95% of all leads that come into law firms. But what makes SEO stand out or SEM stand out? And all the things that you do to help law firms grow their rankings on the internet when they get there.
I know the branding for our clients has been significant. And not just in this market, but in other markets. When they're working with Gary, the numbers increase substantially because of the additional branding. Our client owns studio naming rights across the state, and that's huge. So when someone is searching in Google, what's backing that up is that constant name, that constant branding, that constant voice that's in your head that, when you're going and finding out that click-through rate on page one, where that person is, I'm going to go with this firm because I've heard them, I trust them, I believe in them. They're obviously spending money and investing in themselves through radio, through the digital media. So that helps enhance the work that we do organically to help push that person in the right direction.
It's also important how involved you get with your own community and being charitable, being giving, making people like who you are, whether you're a one-man firm or you're 2 to 4 faces of a 300-person firm. You have to be out there in the community because everything you say on air and online doesn't become real until you are that trusted person, that trusted attorney.
Right.
I mean, how important is a Google review?
It's huge, especially now. It's a lot of people are actually going to reviews. I was actually looking at analytics because I was doing a Google Analytics training for one of our new hires. And I love going to the most visited landing pages. And one of the most visited landing pages on 4 or 5 of our client sites that I was reviewing was looking at reviews.
Huh. Why?
So people are searching. That was definitely in Search Console, different words that people were using to find and investigate on those clients' reviews.
Because what's more believable? The attorney getting on TV or on the radio and telling them how we're going to help you. And again, it's first and foremost about helping somebody get well. Although there's a ton of attorneys out there saying, I'm going to get you $1 million. Well, we know that those cases are few and far between. So when somebody goes to Google and they land on the reviews, what's more believable? The 550 reviews that the law firm got from happy clients, or the ad that was on TV, or the audio that you hear over the speakers or on your Alexa? It's the reviews.
Yeah.
Because people trust people like themselves.
Right.
Versus the man or girl, woman pounding their chest about how great the law firm is. Well, it's not about how great the law firm is. It's about how trusted the law firm is.
Yeah, I think capturing clients from every direction, right? Like if you're going to continue doing TV, and if it's working for you and it's delivering results, or if it's an ego play, but that's just one of the verticals, right? When people come to me and they're like, well, I'm just, I'm going to give you all my money and we're just doing SEO. I'm like, whoa, we can't do that. You couldn't give me a blank check and make it all work, right? It's not just going to be, we have to partner with all the other advertising elements and marketing elements that are going to help push every single campaign that enhance it, that the branding, the internal, the outbound, the community involvement, right? Building that trust, building that name, all of that is important, right? You can't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to make sure you're separating it all out and doing a little bit of everything, but strategically doing it everything and working together, kind of like what we do, right? We know what you're doing. We know when pay-per-click's going out. We know what we're writing content about. We know what links we're going after. If it's a new mass tour, we're all working together to go after it. Hurricanes are coming in Florida. We're all going after hurricane or property damage at the same time and working at it together. So you got to make sure that all your business partners and vendors are all working together for one main goal.
Well, I find it interesting that there's a lot of firms out there that say they can do it all. We'll handle all of your marketing. And I don't care if it's a law firm, it's a car dealer, it's a surgeon who's going to do plastic surgery. Nobody knows everything as an expert.
Right.
What I have learned from you about the digital side of the business, and what you've probably learned from me in the last 5.5 years on radio and television and OTT and digital audio, we've both grown.
Right.
But we've grown to a point where when we sit down with the client, we don't sit down individually anymore. It's a team.
Yep.
And the team wins. It's not an I, it's not a you, it's about the client.
Right.
And what we do together better, they benefit more.
Exactly.
And you're an expert in your field. I'm an expert in radio, TV, and digital audio and video. Nobody's going to touch what I do there. But it's about a strategic plan. And everybody sits there and says, rate, 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 rate. You know what? It's not always about the rate. It's about what kind of partnership can you develop with your broadcast partner who's going to be there for you. I did an analysis of some of the top law firms around the country. And I find it shocking that over 80% of the law firms that are doing broadcast media still spend most of their money on TV. And by the way, TV is amazing, but there's no car accident or slip and fall happening while you're watching TV.
It's got that right. I want to go back a little bit on nuances, and I'm actually going to pause for a second. So I want to go back to a nuance, because I know there's super specific things that people are buying that they might be being sold by some of these advertisers. And I don't know it well. That's why you're the expert, right? So there's certain times of the day that people could be throwing in that you're not monitoring or something like that, where it could be more strategically done. Do you kind of remember us having that conversation? Someone's like, well, I'm buying all this. And then you said, well, are you buying like this kind of time? And it's like either time that somebody's not using, and then they just give it to you. And there's this whole weird way of calculating things. Just one, just some little nuggets that someone could be like, and they could, after listening to this, go to their invoice and be like, oh shit, maybe I am paying for that. And I didn't know that I was getting screwed out on something like that.
There's several schools of thought. And I'm back. Look at that. Look at that. It magically moved.
It was the Alex show.
Magically moved. There's several schools of thoughts as to how to buy media. And you talk to the largest agencies out there in the country, and they work on buying rating points.
You're right. Uh-huh.
Rating points don't call personal injury attorneys. Rating points don't buy cars. Rating points don't buy home goods. Rating points don't buy food. Who does all these things? People. You need to have as many impressions as possible. And again, I'm not going to give up my secret sauce, Alex, because I have what I would say is the best media plan out there in the personal injury space. But buying television, it's not about buying prime time where you're going to get the most eyeballs for one show. It's not about buying just news. How do you reach the audience and pound them over the head and over the head? Because let me ask you a question. When's the next auto accident happening?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You have any idea who it might be?
No clue.
No clue. But when it happens to that unfortunate person, what do you want to be happening with that person? You have to hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it and see it and see it and see it and see it. Because at that moment of truth, when that unfortunate accident happens, and they go to Google, you want them to find the law firm that we're working with, the law firms that we work with outside of South Florida, that are at the top. And maybe they're not at the top. Maybe they're number 3 or 4. But the name stands out because they've been heard over and over and over again. They've been seen over and over and over again. And creative is crucial. I watch all these different ads on television and hear them on the radio that talk about $100,000, $400,000, $1 million. Do you know what the typical case is worth?
PI case?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, the ones our clients take are thin to none, but I would say the average nationwide is $6,500 to $10,000.
Okay, so if that's the average, that means there's very few that are 100,000 plus. Listen, guys, girls, every single one of you want that 100, 300,000 policy to call you. Not everybody carries that. And again, that's a whole different issue in how you target the audience that you're trying to reach.
And not to give away your secrets, but one of his secrets is amazing research. Like, I've seen this guy dive deep in research, and that's all I say. And then one more thing I do want to touch on that we touched on that is super important about how Gary works, and it's relationships. When he touched on it very smoothly, and you got to create a relationship with your broadcasters. You're not just going to go in there and get the best price until you start buying from this person and you start building a relationship and creating that. First of all, he already has all the relationships. You have to trust in what he's doing to get you in front of those relationships that he can use for your benefit.
If I don't know the market president, if it's a new market, I know enough market presidents at enough different broadcast facilities, as well as regional presidents, all the way up to the top, the CEOs, with cell phone numbers. I will make sure that I get to the right person, because what does a salesman want to do?
So,
what does a manager want to do?
Make sure the salesperson's selling.
And have a relationship.
Right.
Because if you actually have a rapport, have a relationship, and it's not just a buyer and a seller, and it's working together for the betterment of the broadcast group, they're going to make money. The advertiser, who needs to make money, because as you said before, when you start to spend money in advertising and you start to see it work, what do? You add more.
Right.
And it's a snowball.
It is.
And it's something that is needed over and over and over. I'm not going to use my analogy.
Don't use that.
I'm not going to use my analogy. But if you are advertising, I promise you one thing. If you're doing it right, you want more.
You do want more.
If you're doing it wrong.
If you're the typical PI attorney mindset, you're going to want more, and you're going to want more, and you're going to want more. I mean, most of our clients, thank God and God bless them, they are pushers. They are hustlers. They want to be the best. And, we don't blame them. And typically they are. They're doing an amazing job, not only for their clients, their staff, but, knowing how to grow their law firm. And for that type of personality, I got to give them props. They are definitely open to learning from their colleagues, from the other people in different markets that are doing the same thing.
Well, it's about trust.
Yeah.
This invention makes me accessible,
right,
24/7. And I am accessible 24/7. I know that I've spoken to
Here's
you.
Our social media pic while we're online.
Hey guys, I know I've spoken to you but before 5 a.m. I speak to my clients
right
after midnight, before 4 a.m. And that's getting up. That's not
accessibility. What are the words? Trust, accessibility,
and relationships. It's important to, first and foremost, have an open and candid conversation with whoever your marketing person is. Because if you try and bullshit them, they're going to figure it out.
Well, they can feel it, right?
Of course. And, nobody wants to give up the things that matter most and the secrets to their success. But once you build a rapport and you have a trust and you really open up about what's going on, what's happened in the past. You ever seen the show Bar Rescue?
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that show. I was talking to somebody else about that.
So, when somebody's not performing well,
Steve Smith, we were talking.
They're trying to dig themselves out. And it's okay to ask for help.
Most don't.
Most don't. We're talking about attorneys.
Right.
And there's a couple of egos out there.
Yeah.
We have it also.
Yeah.
We're the best at what we do. They're the best at what they do. And we all feel that way, or at least should feel that way. If you don't feel that way, get out of what you're doing.
Right. Speaking of Bar Rescue, just to throw this in there, because this could be your law firm or it could be your business. And I've been stuck in business before, so I feel it, right? Like, I've watched those Bar Rescue shows. I also love the Marcus Lemonis, The Prophet, which is an amazing show where someone comes in and consults and changes things for you. But when you're stuck like that, it's typically because you messed something up. So not only did you mess it up or you broke something or you didn't follow a process and you knew you should have done it a different way, now you're carrying that weight and that guilt of you messing it up, and it's changing your whole mindset, right? Now your mindset is filled with shame as opposed to the hustle. And somebody's got to come in there and change your mindset. Just like if you were to go out and hire a dog trainer. The dog trainer isn't really training the dog. He's training you on how to act in front of the dog. And the same thing, the business owner or the business consultant, they're training you on how to run your business and changing that mindset to do it differently.
It's It's interesting. You're a baseball fan. The greatest hitters of all time have batted what percentage?
Oh my gosh, 60-something%.
400. They batted 400.
That's
the greatest.
Send me pause that and make sure I said it right. Read 400%.
Not 400%. 400. So they hit they get 4 hits out of 10 at bats. 4 hits out of 10 at bats, which means they fail.
40%. So
they fail 60% of the time they get out.
Okay, so 60% was okay.
So to bat 400, you are the creme de la creme, and there aren't many of them.
There haven't been many. No.
So what's interesting in sales, and this is my 35 years of selling advertising before I actually opened the agency to have my own business. I failed 70% of the time. I succeeded 30. But you know what? Out of all those people that I did not sell advertising to, you know what the number one reason they didn't want to buy radio was?
Money.
I tried it before and it didn't work. Well, I can tell you one thing. Radio works, TV works. If it didn't, you didn't buy it right, and you sure as shit didn't have good creative. Because great creative being purchased right will bring leads to any business out there. And with a great digital strategy, my God, the world's your oyster.
Right.
Now, I do have a pet peeve as we're sitting here doing a video podcast. I look on Instagram every single day, and I'm attached to looking at a lot of law firms across the United States. And there's a few of these guys that are absolutely amazing. 500,000 followers, 700,000 followers. But for the most part, do you know who likes most of these videos?
The law firm.
And the other law firms.
The other lawyers, yeah.
So then you keep talking to one another. Guys, girls, there's a whole market out there. Millions of people that don't know who you are. Instagram is great. Facebook is great. Facebook is probably one of the greatest marketing tools out there. But guess what? It's just a piece of the puzzle.
Right. Just a piece of the puzzle.
And every single outlet out there, TikTok is great, Instagram is great, Twitter is great, Facebook is great, radio is great, TV is great, digital is great, SEO is great, SEM is great. But if you don't have somebody that's helping you draw up a plan, you're just shooting out, hoping and praying that the phone's going to ring. And you know what? Most of these law firms do pretty well. Could you imagine
if they tweaked it?
The trajectory that could happen? Listen, I'm grateful that I have trust from my clients because that's all that matters to me. Their success is my success because I'm fighting for my life every 3 months. Every month. We're in it every single day to make sure that our clients are winning. But one thing you can't guarantee, and I can't guarantee, that somebody's going to pick up the phone and make that phone call, or somebody's going to click on that website. But if we do what we do right, we have a better chance. And our client success shows. Because what has happened to our guy in South Florida in the last 5.5 years? It was a local firm. When I met him, before you even became involved, 8.5 years ago,
yep.
Miami, Fort Lauderdale, budget that big. This is it. Guess where we are now?
I know where we're at. Yep.
We're the entire state. So by having the right digital strategy, bringing you on, having the trust in the radio and TV plan, doing the right social media, and most importantly, being involved in the communities.
Yeah, that's huge. He's
That-
definitely involved. He's
And,
definitely
and
involved.
you know what? For all you TV guys out there that are all over TV and not doing a lot of anything else, every time you walk into that fancy steakhouse and they know your name, that's great. You need other people to know you.
Right.
And all I could say is open your minds to something that's a little bit different. And what's interesting for the people that are big TV advertisers, and I want you to think about this. What's a big TV advertiser? Somebody who's spending over $100,000 a month in TV, $200,000 a month in TV. There are guys out here in the country that are spending $2 million a month in TV. I can tell you one thing, all you big TV guys. If you cut 10% of your TV budget and added it to radio, it will explode. Explode. If you cut 20%, it explodes even more. It's very interesting that most people aren't going to tell anybody some of these tricks, because you could still get the same number of impressions on TV that you were getting with that budget, shave a little bit. There's a way to keep those impressions and add a whole slew of new ones.
Right.
People you've never
A whole
spoken
other
to.
audience. Yep. People that
Whole
don't
other
even know
audience.
your name. I've seen it.
And then the last thing that I got to say, when it comes to radio, whatever radio station is your favorite might not be the one that you need to be on.
Right.
It might not. When you've grown to the point where it doesn't matter, even though it always matters, then you add that station so you can hear your own commercial. But I'll promise you one thing. I'll always get you a copy of your commercial so you can listen to it.
You heard it here, folks. So I know Gary was on social media last week. He said he had time for 5 calls he was going to make. He was taking 5 calls that day. Gary, tell us, because I know he's got limited time. I'm working closely with him. He's got enough time for some of you to give him a call. Let him audit what you're doing right now. Give him the opportunity, because I know he can only take on so many clients. He only wants to work with the best. Give him your time. Gary, how do they reach you?
Well, first, the website is www.roi360plus.com. ROI360plus.com. Why ROI360plus? Because we're going to make sure you get a return on your investment. Plus is the consulting that we do to help you grow your law firm on the other side. There's a lot of guys out there that say they know what's happening inside a law firm. You know, I've got a long tenure inside this law firm, and I understand that. But my cell phone is on 24/7. I am always accessible. 954-560-6371. 24/7, any day of the week, Monday through Sunday. And like Alex said, if you want me to audit what you're doing, I have no problem. No charge.
No charge.
No charge.
You can also email him at gary@roi360plus.com as well if you don't want to pick up the phone and call, or fill out the form online. That can also be quick. Gary, this was awesome. Happy Friday. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and information. Everyone, to all who watched and listened to, if you're catching this on a Friday, have a great weekend. If you're at the gym working out or driving, thank you for listening. Have an amazing day.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Friday.